And now, a math lesson. Let's say the Zaxby's chicken finger plate comes with 4, 5, or 6 hand-breaded fingers and 1 side of Zax sauce. Plus, you can try them with Zax sauce, honey mustard, hot honey mustard, tongue torch, teriyaki, wimpy, nuclear, barbecue ranch, sweet and spicy, insane. How many possible combinations does that make? Carry the 2 with the remainder... a lot. Zaxby's chicken finger plate. The sauceabilities are endless.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. All roads in the capital city quite literally lead you to a Zaxby's. You also can check them out in Thomasville, Georgia, Douglas, Georgia, Marianna, Florida, and a whole lot of other places. But those ones are near and dear to us because that's the way we roll. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code is Warchant30. Great column on that website over the weekend from Corey Clark, who's the brains behind the operation, the face guy, if you will. If we were a fraternity, we'd put Corey's face out front to get us the best recruits for our brotherhood. Mm-hmm. He joins us here. His great column was about recruiting and how we need to maybe look at this class differently, and probably even more so after this weekend's developments. Before we get into all that, which is going to be the crux of our show, your well-being. How are you, Corey?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. A little cold up here in Georgia. Heading back down there to the fine Sunshine State on Tuesday. Gonna hopefully watch some basketball games in that Civic Center. We'll see. Crossing our fingers for that. And but yeah, otherwise pretty good. Brady had another solid basketball game. Scored 18.
Nice. Whoa, solid. Come on. What kind of Tiger dad are you over there?
Yeah, so the thing is like in the game that he hit the game winner, apparently he scored 21 in that game. And I'm not saying that to brag, I guess I am, but like these are 15-minute halves that are running clocks, so they're not normal games anyway. They're kind of shorter, not as many possessions. But all the other really good, and Brady's not the best player on his team. And he's probably, I don't know, the 18th, 17th best player in the league. But all the other kids that kind of score a lot of points are all like really athletic or tall. And Brady's neither. But he finds a way, man. He's a gunner now. He'll shoot. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think the most I ever scored in a basketball game was 8. And my man's out here averaging like 13 or 14 a game. So pretty great. And the best part was they had their 3 other best players foul out. So at the end of the game, they only had 4 players on the court. And the other team was down by like 4 or 5 for the whole quarter or for like the last minute. And they kept fouling Brady. And Brady stepped to the line and knocked down 6 of 8 free throws.
Oh!
To put the game away. Put the game on ice. So, pretty crazy stuff. I don't know. I guess he gets it from his mom because I certainly wasn't this good at basketball.
That'll be edited out of the show.
Thank you. Obviously, I was being humble. I was incredible at basketball. You could probably assume that.
I like the way they get down in G County, man. We're going to keep playing, even if we've got 4 guys on the court. We're going to keep playing ball.
That's right. And the coach kept saying, like, that's all right. Use your fouls. And I'm like, well, maybe tell the best player to be less handsy. You're going to need 5 here for the last 45 seconds, but it ended up working.
So as we record this on Sunday, I think we were under the impression that Florida State will be able to return to action on the hardwood on Wednesday. Yes. I guess to my understanding, the reason that the most previous game, I guess, was Pitt was postponed was kind of maybe the impracticality of trying to get back into competitive game shape or to actually be able to go out and execute, and play a competitive game with that long of a layoff, which I don't really
But I don't know that that's true. We'll talk to Leonard later today. He's got a conference call. And so we'll see what their practice schedule has been like, if they've been able to practice. And maybe Pitt was like, if you guys don't want to play, you don't have to come up here for this. We're cool. We can try to make – my question is if they're going to make them up at all, because my thought process is probably not. It's going to be hard. And we're assuming – that's assuming that these are the only 3. Yeah. But there might be more later on the line. And I just don't know if there's enough space in the schedule to start cramming 4 or 5 games within a 2-week stretch or a 10-day stretch. So it'll be really interesting to see if they even make these games up. I would part of me thinks that maybe one gets made up or something, but I would be surprised if all three of them do.
All right, let's move to football. 4 minutes of the show. Hopefully you all are still here. Again,
hey,
look at the
were they not hearing about Brady Clark?
They were, but
or
then
are they going to turn it to something else during that?
I think we can ask like 2 minutes, 16 seconds is about what we can ask from our audience to dial into basketball.
I think hey man,
when there's
I think
football
you're
stuff going on.
Yeah, well, when there's football stuff, but I think you're misjudging our audience a little bit. I think they like Leonard's team. I think they like cheering for a good program, as long as we're not basketball centric. We can dash it in there. But I'm with you. Let's get to football. Now it's been 5 minutes and 11 seconds.
Yeah. So your column that was, I don't know, like were you too prescient in your thoughts? Like, did you come out too far ahead of this? Because
it's funny you asked that. So the column was about just how and I've talked about it before, like how we have to rejudge these, rethink the way we look at recruiting rankings. As long as the portal's going to be this, as long as there's a one-time transfer exemption and the portal's going to be the Wild West, you can't judge what you've done for your program based on who you sign in December out of the high school ranks. So my column was basically like, look, according to Rivals, Florida State's like 38th in the country right now. They're 8th in the ACC. Now, if you make it, but a lot of that is because of how they do it with Florida State only has 16 commitments from high school kids. So you're going to be like Boston College has like 23. So they get more points, however the points work. They get more points for just having commitments. So Florida State star ranking-wise, average-wise, is 25th in the country and 4th in the ACC. Still not Florida State good, but not as bad as it looks otherwise. But the point being, look, what if you throw in Mackenzie Milton in there? What if you judged him as a 4.5-star quarterback and Jermaine Johnson as a 4-star defensive end and Andrew Parchman as a 3 or 4-star wide receiver? Well, all of a sudden now you're looking at a recruiting class that's maybe getting up there in the top 20 nationally.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you look at what happened over the weekend. And it was funny because I talked to Ira about it. He suggested maybe writing a column like that because he had heard me talk about it on the show. And I'm like, well, aren't they going to get a couple guys? Should we wait? And then we finally, it's looking for a little content, number one, because the basketball team doesn't ever play, but also just like maybe being prescient there and being like, well, let's get out in front of it. And I wrote it Friday night saying, look at what he's done already. He's hitting needs, and he's getting guys that are going to contribute immediately. Immediately. These aren't projects. These aren't guys you wonder what they're going to look like in 2022 or 2023 when they get in a college weight room. These guys have been in college. You know what you're getting. And if you look at what they did over the weekend, man, and if you add that to the recruiting class, I mean, I genuinely think you're talking about a top 12 recruiting class in the country.
We've become like an incubator for column ideas for Corey. It's like we just talk and just shoot the bull, and Ira just starts, cherry picking. Oh, yeah, that'd be a good thing. Hey, Corey, how about you get behind that keyboard?
I've got so many interesting thoughts, right? So many just unique ideas, just that come. Basically, I vomit out of my mouth.
No, it's organically, man. Just talk.
It is for real. It's I have a lot of dumb ones too, but every now and again, a diamond will come out, and then Ira's the one that's like, yeah, that's a column idea. So, good on Ira. That's why he's the boss.
Yeah. We'll dive here just momentarily into the nuts and bolts of all these guys that committed, their names, what they bring to the table, et cetera, et cetera. But, I'm the guy that usually throws cold water on stuff pretty quickly around here. But it's really impressive because, the whole panic button thing that I fired off, October or whatever, which is, again, and I've said it, previously, even after that, but it just, like, how can you market this team to get them better? Okay, I get it. Some of the coaching decisions have not been all that great in game. We have not seen a good development on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of these players don't seem to be FSU caliber that were put into situations where they had to play lots of snaps for Florida State. I get it. Addition by subtraction, et cetera. But ultimately, you need to replace them because you're not going to be able to replace the entire coaching staff. It seems like they probably will stand pat, although as people try to remind me when they DM me and tweet at me on Twitter that, hey, lots of coaches stick around until signing day in February and then they leave. But a lot of that is kind of, leaving for other better jobs, not so much like being kept around and then ditched at the last minute. But, man, to go in and grab maybe the best ready-made quarterback who's got maybe some injury concerns, whatever, really aggressive move. To get Jermaine Johnson, Really aggressive move. I can't see how that's the one thing probably – that's probably the singular move they've made that it's bulletproof, it feels like. Even if maybe he's not the greatest team guy first. I mean, you get him for 10 months or whatever you're going to get. You really can't complain. Andrew Parchment helps you out wide receiver, which we've talked ad nauseum about needing help out wide. I think maybe a little bit that's exaggerated because I think if you have a really good quarterback, some of that stuff's not as prominent. But then, man, they're going and grabbing guys from the SEC. I mean, this weekend they got 3 guys from the portal, 3 guys that played at SEC programs. Now, were those programs all that, flourishing? Not so much. But like Keir Thomas, who they got on Saturday, defensive lineman, I think from Miami Central. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's a big deal to know where you're from when it comes to playing down in Miami. But to get a guy that plays on the defensive line, which is obviously somewhere they're going to need help, and he's a guy that was injured his senior year in 2019, ends up redshirting, and then he kind of bounced back and had a really strong 2020, and then still is like, hey, man, I've got desire left in the tank. I still want to play. And he's going to come and finish his career out at Florida State. Huge get. DJ Williams, the running back, he was from Sebring High School, I think, here in Florida. Now, he's had some injury issues, but as Ira pointed out so nicely in our group text message, because DJ Williams is a guy who he entered this season as the third leading rusher for Auburn. Or I'm sorry, speak it better next time, Aslan. He was the leading returning rusher for Auburn going into this season. He ends up finding himself third string because of injuries. But when he did play and he bounced back from injuries like the next week and actually had strong games like against LSU, as Ira pointed out, hey, man, that's what people said about Landon Dickerson. Look what happened to him. That's a running back. I don't think running back was really that big. Personally, I don't think it was that pressing of a need because, I mean, you got Deontay Sheffield, you got Trayshawn Ward, you have Lawrence Toafili, you have Jayshawn Corbin.
I don't like that you led with 2 walk-ons or former walk-ons. I feel like you got to flip those. Well, you got Corbin, you got Toafili, but again, I hear what you're saying. They have a more pressing need. I don't know what
it's
Tyler
crazy
Grubbs
to me, Corey. The long-winded of me saying this, it is crazy to me that they were 3-6. They looked as bad as they did, and they've been able to get guys that I think a lot of other programs could find ways to use them. Now, maybe they think they've got better guys in their cupboard at some of these other top 15, top 20 programs. Well, Florida State's trying to get back to that level. For them to go and pretty much get every top target they had on their board at these positions, with the exception, I think, maybe that defensive tackle who ended up with Florida, that was from Penn State, Antonio Shelton. It's like complaining that you're hungry and someone's like, hey, what do you want me to bring you? And it's like, I don't know, I'm just hungry. And they bring you like Zaxby's and pizza and Chinese takeout. It's like, man, they've brought everything to the table. It's for you to complain like, well, this pizza's kind of cold, would be absurd of me at this point. It's really impressive what they've done. I don't want to get like too over the moon about it, but they've aggressively gone and met every practical need they have, and it sounds like they're not done because they're probably going to try to get an offensive lineman transfer.
Yeah, I think they definitely need one of those. Running back was probably the least of their needs going into this. But, Dillingham recruited that guy, or maybe he didn't recruit him, but he definitely coached him.
Yeah, no, he did. He was a freshman.
And look, he's a sophomore, right?
Yeah,
in eligibility.
Yeah.
And then I keep wanting to call him Jammie. Jam. Jamie Robinson is a sophomore, eligibility-wise. Not all of them are just one-year guys.
Yeah.
Some of them are coming and you're getting multiple years out of them. I just can't say how important that is. Look, Toafili, you guys know what I think about Toafili. I think he has a chance to be something really, really special. Or not really, really special. We're talking about Florida State. We've seen what really, really special looks like. But a chance to be a very good college football player. But you don't know you don't know if he can hold up with 200 carries. You don't know if Corbin can stay. You need depth. And now you don't have depth with former walk-ons or a true freshman that you don't know can handle it. You have a dude that's played in the SEC and had good games and shown that he has SEC ability. And you've done that with all 3 guys this weekend. These aren't guys that, the guy they got from Louisville, the guy they got from Baylor, those guys hadn't really done much, right?
Correct, yeah.
Those were kind of just
winging a prayer kind of
guys. Yeah, basically. You're just a wild card. You're hoping against hope that maybe there's something. They weren't proven. They were unproven commodities. The thing that should make you excited about these guys, really all 7 of them, is they're proven commodities. Milton is probably the biggest wild card, right? Just because you don't know what he's going to look like after the injury and having two and a half years off. But All those guys have proven that they can play and play well at this level. Maybe the Arkansas DB is the one that he's the one that does. You wonder if that's just for depth purposes. But Jammie Robinson's coming here to start. He might not, but he's coming here to start. He was an all SEC freshman. He had, he had 15 tackles in a game. All the Florida State safeties combined in a game haven't had 15 tackles except Nasruddin, and he's gone. I just think that you have you've found guys that filled needs, and you have a bunch of them. So I don't know, other than landing like a big time offensive tackle and maybe Tyler Grubbs, I don't know what else you could want Norvell to do.
Right.
He has really utilized the transfer portal. I would say right now, just looking from the outside, maybe I'm a homer because it's the team I cover, but from the outside looking in, especially considering the record, he's been better in the transfer portal than anybody in the country. That's
absolutely,
their recruiting class, high school guys, wasn't great. We all get that, but I don't know if you'd look around the country if there's a team that's done better in the transfer portal.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, and
it's really important because all 7 of these guys are in your 2 deep. Like you say these 7 guys were, and let's just for S's and G's say they get an offensive lineman too somewhere along the way. So they're going to have 8 transfers. Well, all 8 of those transfers are going to play, or be in line to play and contribute. Now, what if 8 of those guys were high school seniors? And so if you had just saved all these 8 spots for high school seniors, couple 4 stars, maybe if you're lucky, most 3 stars, how many of those guys out of those 8 do you expect to contribute right away?
None.
0, right? Maybe
none.
1. So again, we can look at the recruiting ranking and say, I don't know, 38th or 25th, however you want to look at it. That's not good. Well, now imagine if you added 8 guys to that class that were all going to play, start probably, at least 6 of them, and be big-time contributors. Well, now you're looking at it, like I said, a top 12, top 10 class. So I think these sites, these recruiting sites, will eventually end up, now that they see what it looks like in practice, they're going to end up adjusting for transfer rankings too. But yeah, I'm just saying, when you think about what he had to work with and sell from a record standpoint, from the last 4 years, not just from this past year, but the last 4 years, to go out and get, I'm thinking at least for 1A or 1B choices at a multitude of positions is really commendable. It should excite Florida State fans in the short term. In the long term, again, you're going to need to bring in some high school hosses too that you can develop. But in the short term, man, going into 2021, if they had done this,
like you said, man, these Mackenzie Milton, Jermaine Johnson, and then Keir Thomas. 3 of the 7, I think they're 1-year rentals, but the other 4 are probably going to stick around for at least more than 1 year. So yeah, this is a good mix of temporary and still some sort of long-term fix.
Yeah, exactly. But the fix gets a lot easier when you have dudes that you can plug in and play right away, especially with the people you were losing on defense. Again, like Ira pointed out, has there ever been a team that ranked 111th in the country in total defense or whatever Florida State was and have 5 early entries? That's never happened. So, but you had holes to fill, big ones, not like just experience. There's a lot of guys, Durden, Marvin, the 2 DNs. That's a lot of starts and a lot of experience. Well, now you're replacing them with experience. You're not having to lean on a true freshman or a true sophomore or a redshirt freshman. These guys have all proven at the highest level of this game that they can contribute and play. Other than Milton, I don't know that you're thinking maybe Jermaine Johnson has a chance to be like a star, like an all ACC type player.
Yeah.
But even still, you get contributors. You got guys that can play, and maybe the Jammie Robinson's that guy too. It's not normal to he had a ton of tackles. He was second on that team in tackles. So yeah, I just think 2 defensive linemen, the best safety that you probably had a chance at, the best wide receiver we think you probably had a chance at, and the best quarterback transfer out there. Knocked it out of the park, man. Like I said in my column on Saturday, I was like, right now it's probably a double off the wall, what he's done in the transfer portal. And then within 36 hours, he landed 3 dudes from the SEC that all played in the SEC. And they weren't. I think the Auburn kid was probably leaving for playing time, but the other two guys they got plenty of playing time at South Carolina. They weren't guys that were passed over. They just wanted to go somewhere else because their coach got fired. So, man, I think you're looking at a home run now, what he's done in this transfer portal, and he's not done. He's not done. So thank God for the transfer portal, Ira. I just called you Ira. What does that make you feel like?
Great, man. Was it his birthday? Did we miss his birthday?
Well, his birthday was New Year's Eve.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So he is now 50, if you can believe it.
I got to call him out.
You wouldn't think he's a day over 49, honestly. But he's actually 50, guys, if you can believe it.
All right, looking at Keir Thomas, he was the 8th highest graded defensive player on the South Carolina team this past season. Jammie Robinson was 15th. Robinson, though, was called by Woody Womack of Rivals.com, who does a lot of the recruiting sort of analyzing and such, as like point blank one of the best players in the entire portal. His grade maybe not the best, but he played 10 games, 5 of them he was graded at strong safety, 5 of them at cornerback, so maybe he feels a little bit more comfortable at one of those positions over the other.
I would think safety. That's where he played. He might have been pressed into playing corner because he played safety as a freshman and was like an all-SEC freshman and led them in tackles or was second or something.
Yeah, he had a 70.4 grade as a freshman and dropped down to a 62, but I think a lot of that, again, to your point, is probably him having to kind of play a little double duty. I think I'll go back and look at his 2019 grade. It looks like, he played safety in 3 of those games. It was a cornerback the other 11, I'm guessing. Or no, do the math. 3. They probably played 13 games, 10. That's what we'll say. Keir Thomas is 6'2", 275, so he can probably play on the interior and even maybe play on the edge.
And I think with him, with sorry to interrupt, but with Jammie Robinson, when they say corner, they're talking like nickel corner. They're not talking about him going out wide and covering a receiver out wide. So it's like a nickel back almost is what he was playing.
I'm just saying they look at his stats.
I mean, I think you'd still put him as a corner though, even if he's a nickel back. You wouldn't. I saw a few of the highlights. It didn't look like he was out wide just covering dudes. I think he's a middle of the field type player.
Yeah, he's much more suited for that in his game. So that's hopefully where he'll probably find his niche with this team. So that's Jammie Robinson. And then DJ Williams, the running back. Now he's a guy, again, he was a returning rushing leader for Auburn going into this season, but he had a shoulder injury and a toe injury. I think even in week 1 against Kentucky, he got banged up a little bit, and that's where Tank Bigsby kind of took over. And then he kind of proceeded to, battle injury the rest of the season. He hurt his ankle against Alabama. I think he exited the game against Ole Miss as well. But, maybe change of scenery, new fresh tread on the tires for him will be a good thing. But, just for them to go and grab these guys from the SEC, guys that are ready to kind of contribute. And, especially on the defense, because I think we just have to – the offense is going to figure itself out. There was glimpses and flashes of them showing kind of what they're capable of, and I think with a quarterback like Mackenzie Milton, you're going to lose a little bit of obviously what Jordan Travis brought to the table if you do go with Milton, but I think it's still a net positive because what Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham want to do is more evolved around like a pro-style quarterback, quote-unquote. And I don't know if maybe Jordan, maybe it's as easy as just spending extra time this offseason and working on throwing the ball, working on developing, routes that you feel comfortable throwing and certain looks. I just don't know how much of that really kind of comes to fruition when you're, 21 and year 4 of college. But it's possible. I'm not discounting it, but I just think offense I feel good about. These guys playing on the defensive side of the ball, Jermaine Johnson, Jammie Robinson at the safety position, Keir Thomas helps solidify what you have on the front line. It is kind of crazy, though, in all this. They haven't got a linebacker, though, right?
Yeah. We know who they're waiting on.
Right. T. Grubbs.
Yeah, waiting on T. Grubbs to see what. I need to go look at his grade real quick. Hey, before we move on though, I did want to point out because I went back and looked. Like I know people hear that somebody was 15th on a team grading out. Number one, it's PFF. It's not the end all be all. But also, like I'm just looking at it. Like the number 2 guy on South Carolina played 14 snaps. The number 3 guy played 4.
Oh, yeah.
The 4th guy played 24. The 5th guy played 18. So if you're looking, the 6th guy played 7. So if you're looking at guys that actually played a lot of games.
Top 5.
Yeah, Keir Thomas was 3rd. No. He ranked 3rd on that team. And Jammie Robinson was 5th or 6th.
Yes,
so,
good context. Good context.
Yeah, so when you look at that, like Jamar Brown was second on the team. Well, he played 14 snaps. So that doesn't count. So you're talking about guys that actually played. And Jammie Robinson played the most snaps of anybody on the team. So, yeah, and his tackling was a 78.8, which is really high. Keir Thomas's pass rush was 70.8, which is good. Not great, but good. So there is context when I don't want you to just think, oh, they got the 15th best player on South Carolina's defense. What in the world? No, there's more to it than that. Sorry, I just want to interrupt with that.
No, that's fair. That was a bad take by me. I didn't drill down on the numbers.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but you're absolutely right. It was horrid. But I can't. Corey Clark came to the rescue again.
Hey. Calm it down over there. What I do find interesting, though, is trying to reconcile what these guys get in their coverage grades. And I feel bad calling him the Arkansas kid. His name is Jarquez. How do you pronounce uppercase M, lowercase c, Mick? Clellion? Like it's like McClellion?
I would say McClellan, but I don't know. That's a crazy.
We have a McClellan already on this team, don't we, Derek? And it doesn't spell anything like that. You Irish people, figure it out, man. It's been hundreds of years.
Right. I looked up Tyler Grubbs. He is 1, 2, 3, 4. He's only the 6th best player on Louisiana Tech according to their grades.
But what are the guys in front of her? They played meaningless snaps.
Yeah, there's two linebackers ahead of him that played 602 and 529 snaps. He's the 3rd-ranked linebacker. I'm not believing it. I watched you, Tyler Grubbs. They don't believe in you over there. Whoever does the PFF grades for Louisiana Tech, you need to come to Florida State. They'll be kinder to you.
But so to the grading, and again, this is like an interesting thing. Maybe we'll bring on, the Rollins guy from PFF to talk about this sort of stuff. But like you look at these guys' coverage grades. So like Jammie Robinson's coverage grade was 59.4. And then he's not. That's a bad example. I'll go back to Jarquez from Arkansas. So his coverage grade was 62.4, which is like yellowish, which is not that good. 60 is the baseline, is what we're told. 60 is pretty much like, sign your name correctly on the SAT and pick C for all the answers, and you'll probably be at your baseline or what have you. But the receiving percentage against him, that is, when he was targeted on a play, like the guy that he was responsible for was targeted, that person only caught the ball in 54.2% of the time.
Yeah.
Which is really freaking good. Like to compare that, Asante last year, 2019, was at 50.7. Year before that as a freshman, 47.4. In 2020, he was 59.4. So like if and Asante allowing 59.4% of passes thrown his direction to be completed, had an 82.8 in his coverage grade. So maybe he had to earn it. I guess maybe he had to earn it a little bit more, like those incompletions. Maybe Jarquez was the product of misthrows. But like, that's crazy to me, too. There's a little bit of disconnect in some of these numbers that we're throwing your way. Good that Corey brought up what he brought up. I'm bringing this up just to kind of give a little bit more context, too. This, in 2019, McClellan opted out in 2020. When he played in 2019, guys only caught 54% of the passes that were in their direction when he was in coverage. So it's crazy how you could be a 62.4. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should look at like Patrick Surtain and see like what he graded out.
Yeah, what is he, a 91.6 or something?
Yeah.
I think, before we get too lost in the weeds of
analytics. People love analytics.
Just the grades of PFF. Just look, they're hitting needs. Like not everybody. Look, you're not going to get a lot of super duper stars in the transfer portal, but you can get dudes that can make you better. And I've talked a lot about addition by subtraction. Well, this is also addition by addition. Like these guys are going to make you better because they're good, quality, dependable, established college football players. Again, you can't oversell a guy like Andrew Parchment. Knows what it's like to be the number one receiver in a real football league and had 400-yard games. There's nobody on the Florida State roster that has more than one. So he had 4 100-yard games in 1 year. He knows what it's like. He knows what it's like to be that guy. You can't oversell that. Obviously, Mackenzie Milton speaks for himself, but then you have a guy that's going to be a pass rushing specialist. You have a guy that's used to making 15 tackles in a football game that's around the football in Jammie Robinson. You have a running back that was, that's good, that can at least give you some depth and might be somebody that really gives you a bolt out of the backfield. So you've just got guys that I just think, again, when you're looking for a quick fix, because you can't do 3-9 again or 3-6, whatever. You can't do this again next year. You've got to be better. Well, the 2021 team over the last 3 weeks has gotten much better, in my opinion, than it looked beforehand, obviously. No matter what the recruiting class would have looked like. The fact that they got 7, probably going to end up with 8 or 9 guys coming in that they know can play right away. That's big time, man. Plus they got Devontae Love-Taylor back. Miko Dotson's coming back. You're talking about 9 transfers so far and counting that will probably be in the 2 deep. That's really good work out of that staff in a short amount of time. And again, they're taking advantage of the new rule. It's not a quick fix, sure, but you can get better quicker than it used to be, if that makes sense. Like normally when you had a terrible program, terrible team, not a good roster, it was years upon years to rebuild it. Well, now what have you got? 30%, 35% of your 2 deep has come within the last 2 years from other schools. You can build it quicker. You're not going to get great like this, but you can solidify something and maybe get to 6 or 7 wins with dudes that know how to play college football. I just think, again, with what he was selling, what he had to sell, the record they had, it's really remarkable what they've done in the transfer portal. And I think Florida State fans should feel pretty good about it.
Yeah,
but yes, you do need – I still think you need to find a linebacker, Grubbs, or, hey, one of his better teammates apparently, or an offensive lineman will help. But, again, like you said, I think we all feel pretty good about the offense.
Yeah, I'm not worried about
I think we feel pretty good about the offense. They definitely, I think, need one more whether it's from the portal or it's one of these dudes that's currently on the team to step up. They do need some help at wide receiver. They need another big-time guy. But other than that, what they really needed was defensive help. And to me, it looks like they've gotten it.
I do wonder, I think it's, with this iconic brand that he has to sell, I think it's probably easier to, I don't know, I would assume it's probably easier to recruit guys that are in the portal to come to Florida State despite what your record was.
Sure.
Than it is to get high school kids to believe in it. So
yeah, absolutely.
And that's not really, I'm not trying to diminish what Mike Norvell's doing, but I think some people might be like, well, he's still got to show that he can recruit, top name high school players. But I still think he has to get a decent amount of credit for being able to sell these kids something to get them to come here. Because again, man, it's 3-6, and yeah, they're coming from South Carolina. One of the guys is from Florida, the other one I think is from Georgia. But it's not like he's rescuing these guys from Oregon State. They're like, oh, I'm so dying to come back home. There's something to be said about the fact that whatever concerns that you legitimately could have had about this not working out well in terms of recruiting in November, when we didn't realize how aggressive they were going to be able to go in the portal, that has to take some of the concern off your back. But back to your point about the 2 deep and whatever percentage of players they have now, like, will 2021, will we know, will it rise and sort of fall based on how good these transfers are? Like, is 2021 for Mike Norvell, Florida State fans, does it pretty much all come down to how you evaluated guys out in the portal and who you brought in via free agency?
No, I mean, there's going to be a lot of ways to judge.
I'm not talking about, like, projecting into the future, but will 2021, the success or failure of it, ride or die, basically, based on how Keir Thomas, Mackenzie Milton, Jermaine Johnson, Jamie Robinson, DJ Williams, DJ McClellan, Andrew Parchment, like, I feel like the way we're talking about these guys, we're talking about positions of need, how they're instantly ready to play. Man, to me, it seems like 2021 is going to – it all hinges on how well these guys can fit in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it all hinges on that. I think I'm just being semantical with you. I think you're also going to want to see –
Who never thought that you were the child of a litigator?
I know. I think you're also really going to want to see the development of his own guys that weren't transfers, guys that have been in the –
I want to win, Corey. I want to win, baby. I want to win, baby.
No,
I want to win, man.
But
I don't care. Sure. I'm sorry. I don't care how Brian Robinson looks. I want to win a football game. And
but don't you want to see? Don't you want to see an offense? I'm talking about like when you see an offense that completely exploits and exposes another defense.
They did against North Carolina. I saw
No, that's
that.
what I'm saying.
They're
If you
capable.
saw more of that, even if they ended up losing the game, but they put up 45, and you saw some real genius in what Dillingham and Norvell are doing, I think you can use that as a gauge too. I think if you watch the defense actually try and play hard, you can use that as a gauge. Remember, we heard from I forgot about the UCLA transfer too. He'll be on the 2 deep.
Yeah,
we
Jordan
heard
Wilson.
from Jordan Wilson talking about how he couldn't believe how hard Memphis played. Well, I'm sure he couldn't believe how not hard Florida State played when he saw it up close in 2020. So if you see that start to manifest itself, I think that's another way to judge it. If the special teams continues to get better, there are other ways to judge it. If you're saying what the key is for 2021 to be successful, yes, those transfers, and there's probably 1 or 2 more coming, they will play a huge role in it. A huge role in it. Mackenzie Milton's obviously the most important. If he wins the job from my man J. Trav, but I really want to see Jermaine Johnson. They need somebody off the edge. Keir Thomas, again, another guy that you want to see what kind of impact he has on the defensive line. But yeah, I think these guys are going to be a really big indicator of how good. I don't know if I don't know that you judge Norvell by how well they play, because we know they're good. It's not like he's picking guys out of, like you said, he's not taking guys from UTEP or Arizona Wesleyan. He's taking guys from big-time programs that have proven they can play. But overall, just if they play harder and play better and play smarter and continue to take strides, I think you'll feel okay with it. As long as, 3-9, ask me then. But if they're 6-6, 7-5, those guys play well, and you see the younger guys start to take that step, I think that's another step. Dare I say, I think they'll be climbing, Aslan.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
It's not my first rodeo, my man.
If they're 7-5, I think, and then I don't know how. Again, I mean, like 7-5 sounds great when you were 3-6, but it's still Florida State, and that's 5 lousy Saturdays. That's 5 lousy Mondays of Wake Up War Chant. Not lousy quality-wise, but just, your hosts not feeling all that excited about talking about this football team. That's a lot, man. 5 is a big number. I still think whatever success you enjoy in 2021 that comes at a surplus of what you had in 2020 probably is going to be because your offense is moving at a better clip, because you do have a quarterback that's able to help you out a little bit better on third down and a little bit more on second and long situations, and that you probably do have a defense that has been able to generate a pass rush and has been able to clean up some of the stuff on the back end. Now, the stuff on the back end, you might be able to attribute it to guys like Akeem Dent kind of emerging, Renardo Green maturing. But I think if this team has a pass rush in 2021, I don't think it's going to be because Derek McClelland and, Josh Griffiths have found some newfound ability and confidence. I think it's because Keir Thomas is helping collapse.
But imagine if they
Jermaine
did.
Johnson.
Imagine if McClendon, Big No 55, double nickel, is coming off. They haven't retired Marvin Jones's number, by the way. Maybe that's what they should do. They need to retire it right now as we speak. Not just the jersey, but the number. And then tell his kid, hey, we'll unretire it for you if you come.
Oh, there we go.
That's the play you got to make.
I like it.
Why am I the only one that thinks like this, Aslan?
I don't know.
Well, I'm the only one that's playing 5D chess. But, if you see, but what if you did see those guys take big steps? But not big steps like they're going to be all ACC guys, but they're contributors and they actually touch a quarterback every now and then. I think I don't expect those guys to be difference makers. I think obviously
I know. You got to focus your optimism, Corey. I think we're getting too excited about these new guys.
You want to
that we
see
think
progression, right? You want to see progression. You want to see progression from those freshman wide receivers. Brian Robinson isn't going to be the key to the team in 2021, but you want to see him make a difference. Or Williamson, or Portier. You want to see those guys take a step. Toa Feely. And another thing that I would throw in there is, what is the offensive line going to look like? Is it going to continue to make strides and be not just – I think this year we'd say it was passable, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't decent, but it was passable. It was much improved.
It's adequate.
Next year, will it take another step and be kind of okay? If it's kind of okay to kind of good, well, then you've taken another big step, and you just keep adding bricks. So, again, I think that yes, this weekend – these 2 or 3 weeks, I mean, maybe if you start with Mackenzie Milton, the last 5 or 6 weeks, has been really important for Mike Norvell, and you hope really important for the future of Florida State football. Because if you're better, like we talk about, you said 5 losses is a big number. 5 is a big number. Well, 7's a big number around here these days. If they can somehow to get 6, 7 wins with this much more experienced group, if these guys help, these Dandy 8 or whatever we're going to call them, the Elite 8, if they end up getting another guy, the Superior 7, whatever we want to call with the transfers, if they end up helping and being big-time contributors, then it's going to be easier to recruit. You're stacking it on each other, and you just keep getting better and better. We'll see. That's the hope, though, right? That this year is a stopgap when you can stop the slide, and you can turn the car around and start driving in the right direction. And if that looks like 7 and 5, so be it. But these guys certainly help that process because it's got to stop. The slide's got to stop eventually. These guys help the slide stop.
Say that 5 times fast.
That's a tough one. It's like toy boat.
Oh, don't even. I can't. Got him. Yeah, I could not do that. Part of me too also appreciates the fact, and again, I don't know how much of this is by necessity or by design, but that the whole thing about being patient. Like I just don't have patience when it comes to anything in my life.
Well, the transfer portal helps that, doesn't it?
I know that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're at the 40-minute mark. I'll pull this out for another day when it's more, less content. So I'll save this thought I have about it. But I also think this kind of maybe shows that maybe they're not as patient as we want them to be, which I think is a really good thing. I don't think any Florida State fan wants to wait 4 or 5 years for this thing to look great again. But I think there's a significant amount of people that are kind of, resigned to that fact that it's going to take time. They got to purge, et cetera, et cetera. They're like, I'll give this guy time because I realized if we just keep shuffling through guys like we're Tennessee or Auburn or whatever, we're never going to get out of this ditch. But I think there's something to be said, too, about the fact that, they kind of looked at, they realized what they had after, October. And, they could have maybe tried to do some things to try to woo 5-star kids here. Maybe some Rivals 150 guys here. Maybe they did. Maybe that was plan A and it didn't work out. But whatever course they've set the tack out on now, man, we're going to see just kind of how sharp this staff is, how well they can implement and put a plan into place because of what they've done this past weekend and what they've done in the recruiting in the transfer portal. That excites me, man, because I don't want to wait. I realize we do have to wait, but still, I don't want to have to do it. I don't want to do it. I'd rather see it sooner than later. And I think with these players, we're gonna be able to see some instant gratification. Which,
I think it's obviously was such a weird initial season for Norvell, one he'll never have to go through again, we hope. But I don't think he came to Florida State thinking, you know what, I'm just going to get a bunch of transfers. I'm going to be like Kansas State in the 90s, just get a bunch of JUCO guys. It's not. He wasn't coming to Florida State to do that. I think he really thought we are going to be a great recruiting team, a great recruiting staff. We're going to recruit the best players in Florida. And we're going to get our fair share. And then, he couldn't basically recruit for the whole year. So the fact that he pivoted the way he did, left a lot of numbers. I'm sure there were plenty of guys around the state, 2- and 3-star guys that would have committed to Florida State. Florida State still has that. It doesn't have the cachet it did 5-6 years ago, but it's still Florida State. But he knew to hold out a lot of number. He needed to hold out spots because he needed immediate help. And just the pivot, and I wanted to circle back to what you pointed out earlier. This isn't all – I'm giving a lot of credit to Mike Norvell and his staff, and they deserve it, sure. But also Bobby Bowden deserves credit for this. Mickey Andrews, Jimbo Fisher, name them, Dion, Marvin, Jameis, Kelvin Benjamin, Dalvin Cook. Florida State is still a marketable brand in an appealing destination because of the previous 40 years. So let's not lose sight of that. It's not like Mike Norvell got a bunch of SEC transfers to come to Memphis.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. He got to use the Florida State name, which is still big, even though they haven't been a good team for a while. So I just didn't want to lose sight of that. That a lot of work went into this program over the last 4 decades to make an all SEC type safety decide to leave to go to come to Florida State. So just want to point that out.
Yeah, he's from Georgia.
Lee County.
Yeah,
I mentioned it on the happy hour, but man, if you would have watched that, I watched like 4 minutes of the Lee County Buford State Championship game here in Georgia, and Buford's won. For people who don't know, Buford's won like PK Sam went there, Lauren Sam. They've won like 13 state championships in the last 20 years, like legitimately. And Lee County was in overtime with them. I think Lee County's maybe won 1 or 2. They're in overtime with them. They have a 1st and goal at the 3, down by 3 because Buford's already kicked their field goal. And then the running back fumbles. Buford recovers and the game's over. The season's over, and they lose the state championship. That's heartache, man. Like you see all the Buford kids celebrating, but then that kid's going to live with that fumble. And he's a really good player. He was one of the reasons they were in the game. He's going to live with that fumble for the rest of his life. Much like Brady's going to live with that game-winning buzzer beater.
That's right.
It never goes away. Never goes away.
Buford won state championships in 78, 2001, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 19, and this past season.
It's fun because they're not a private school. They're a city school, but they will take people from out of the city. I think it's like a $10,000 tuition. And so they get players from, like Darius Walker, who played at Notre Dame. I wrote a book about him. He should have gone to Collins Hill, which is where our man Taylor Heineke was from, and Travis Hunter. Yeah. He should have gone to Collins Hill because that's where he was districted, but they went to Buford. And he became a star there and went to Notre Dame. But yeah, they started out as like a single A program. I think even when PK Sam was there, they were a single A program. Now their enrollment hasn't gotten that much bigger, but to make it fair in Georgia, they keep having to play up. Like I think they play up in the same level as I think they're the same level as the high school Brady will go to, which is Mill Creek.
8A.
And Mill Creek's like 3,600. Yeah. But they almost like it's their enrollment times 2. Is what they have to play at because they're considered kind of the private school, can pay the tuition fee. I don't know. I don't know if that happens in Florida or not. I think Florida has like its own private school districts, right? Or private school state championships. I don't know.
I think so. No, I think everything's under the FHSAA. Like, I
know I guess, like Jacksonville Bowls.
Mississippi and Alabama have their separate private and public.
But yeah, imagine that. Like, I don't know that Lee County's won a state championship, but you heard what Aslan just read off. That would have been like Coastal Carolina playing Alabama for the state championship, or national championship, and Coastal Carolina about to win the game, and the kid fumbles going to the end zone.
By the way, in case you wondered, Patrick Surtain, who did not win the Thorpe Award,
right.
88.6 coverage grade, 42.2 completion percentage.
Okay, those are both. For context, can you look up Jarian Jones? So Patrick Surtain was what, 88.6?
Yeah.
Okay, can you go and look up Jarian Jones? I think this will give people context. And this isn't a shot at Jarian Jones. Nobody's as good as Patrick Surtain. There's no shame in that.
64.3 completion percentage against him, 65 coverage grade.
I would say that seems about right. Patrick Surtain's an 88. Jarian Jones is 65.
Yeah.
Does that seem about right to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Good work, PFF.
Yeah, they get it right every now and then. All right, that's it. That's a wrap for today. We'll be back with Renegade Express, I think, this week. We had a little bit of weird scheduling issues, my bad, last week, so we didn't get on the ponies. But we'll take all your questions from over on the Tribal Council. And I don't know, we'll probably do like a Monday. We did, obviously, it's a Monday show. We'll do like probably a Wednesday, Friday split. Although, I don't know, with basketball and having to wait after the game and then doing a live show, I don't know. I'll figure it out. That was just some live production meeting stuff that I probably shouldn't even have bothered.
A little peek behind the curtains. That's what our meetings are like.
Yeah. But anyhow, in any event, do stay connected to warchant.com, premium recruiting board. Who knows what's going to happen next? Also, Quincy McAdoo, they got a commitment from a kid.
Let's not forget about him.
Class of 22 from Clarendon, Arkansas. That's the eastern part of the state near Tennessee, the Delta, if you will. 4-star athlete, 6'3", 173 pounds. I think he projects to be playing on the offensive side of things. So,
yeah, but he's like he's a Rivals 150 guy, right?
Yeah, he's 81st.
I thought it said he was a 4-star. Yeah. I mean, again, going out of state. Now, look, Mike, I love you, man. Let's hone in on the Sunshine State a little bit, buddy. Let's get some Florida kids. I know you got ties in Arkansas. Let's hone in on some Florida kids. There's some good ones there too. But yeah, again, getting a 4-star top 150 kid, one of the better receivers.
Man. He's 81st
top 100.
national.
Yeah. So one of the better athletes in the country, like legitimately committing to you. Let's hope that it lasts. But to go along with Travis Hunter, again, you're starting to like what you see a little bit, buddy.
Let's go, man. Let's go. I'm excited. I don't even know. Like, we need to start doing the countdown. I think I forgot to do that too. I'll get better. Every show from here forward, we'll start off with how many days we are from the Notre Dame game.
Okay, good. So what we right now we're like 260, maybe 250.
What are they? September 5th.
Yeah, it's 9 months. So
237 days.
Okay, all right, there we go.
But I don't know. It could be
237 will go by in the blink of an eye.
It will. Before you know, it'll be like, it's 86 days. Best number 86 for the
And we're all going to be vaccinated by then, kids.
Okay.
By September.
All right, there we go.
That's my hope. That's my
Standards
hope.
and practices telling us to get off the air. We're going Rush Limbaugh show coming up right after this. He's Keir. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.